Hello and welcome to a special edition of Footy Feed. Well, as the world deals with the fallout from the coronavirus crisis, so too does the AFL. I'm Twomey, this is Damian Barrett. Damo, the big question on everyone's minds is, will there be games next week? Because round one starts in a matter of days.
Yeah, look, as we speak, and we're speaking on Friday evening, yes, round one, as scheduled, as fixtured, will go ahead. That means, as we speak, that the Richmond-Carlton round one game will be going on, as will the Collingwood-Bulldogs game on the Friday night, and as will the 7 remaining games of that round. But it's as we speak, the AFL is reserving the right to monitor the situation that is unfolding on a 20-minute block basis these days, and it's been an extraordinary day from go to woe.
I guess the interesting point and the most important point around that as well is that the games will be played without crowds nationwide. So that's a big decision. How did they land on this? Because you've been on the phone all day talking to key people. How did they get to this point?
There were two big questions at the start of today. Would there be crowds? And that was ruled out when the government made the announcement that in their ideal world, there will be no mass gatherings of beyond 500 people. So that took that issue out of the AFL's hands. That then left the big one. Would they actually play round one? They've decided to. It's actually a decision that has, I suppose, left a lot of players and clubs apprehensive, Cal.
I want to ask you about the club's perspective on this one, because you've been speaking to key figures all around the league. What's their view?
Well, if you look at the players, they met as a group, as an executive yesterday, Thursday. It was canvassed, a lot of contingency plans. Ideal world for them, knowing that this is not ideal world, but ideal world for a player was to have the postponement now, to have the surety, but there is no surety. They would like it to have been 4 weeks, but there's no guarantee that's all it would be. And that's the danger. When the game does shut down, and it will shut down, it might be as soon as round 2, there is no guarantee as to when that returns.
So you think the AFL itself is bracing for that gap at some point this year?
And it's as possible as early as round 2. All they've locked in tonight is round 1. That could still change. Round 2 could be thrown up through to round 23, and all matches. The overriding plan and priority on this, Cal, is to play the 198 games, and the AFL is working backwards from that. If they do that, they maintain contracts. If they fail to do that, all contracts are torn up and the players won't get paid.
Do you foresee some interesting and varied ways that they do this, the AFL, though? Because the players' point of view, there might be the ability to squeeze games in over a number of days and weekends, and some informal sort of chats have been going on with players about, you know, the options potentially of 16 aside. I've spoken to players myself who've talked about that.
You've talked about that today?
Yeah, being canvassed.
Yeah, another option has been canvassed, and the clubs are the players have discussed this. There is a likelihood now that players who are not on club lists as we speak will be playing games of AFL football this year, and that brings into the domain your world, and that is the players out there who aren't playing AFL.
Yeah, you think about the guys that Brett Deledio and Richard Douglas, two guys who would have maybe played on last year but retired through lack of interest. Chris Maston's another one, a premiership player from West Coast. So these guys are out there playing at state level. You know, the potential now for them to get a comeback potential.
And it makes sense for an experienced player like those guys you've mentioned, more than the younger, untried players, to bolster these teams. Yeah. Look, an issue is that the clubs, it's just news to them as we speak. They're not all happy with this. Some of them just don't want to play to empty stadiums. But the way I read it, Kel, is that they are contracted to play the game the AFL tells them to play. And these are unprecedented times. They don't know. No one knows where this goes from here. But all we know right now, as we speak, round 1 is being planned to be played.
Could it be changed?
Yeah, it could be. Look, this was once a weekly moving situation. It then became a daily one. But then became an hourly one. As of yesterday, when the NBA players decided and the NBA competition decided to shut itself down indefinitely, it has become a 20-minute block moving patch of work, and it might become a 5-minute patch of work as early as tomorrow.
Thanks for your insight, Damo, and thanks for tuning in to the latest on afl.com.au and the AFL official live app. We'll have all the latest. Keep clicking back.